Welcome back to Spoiler Free Wrestling, everyone. And there is a lot of news that has come out of the All Elite Wrestling rally that was held yesterday in a city known as Matt and Nick Jacksonville, Florida. And we're starting to get a better idea of what this promotion is going to look like. We've now got 14 wrestlers confirmed as being a part of the All Elite Wrestling roster. We've also got numerous other talents who we believe are likely to be working with All Elite Wrestling. And of course, they also announced their first show, their first official show on May 25th in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Also, later in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of pro wrestling in that building. So looking at the 14 wrestlers who are confirmed as being part of the All Elite Wrestling roster, we've got Cody, Matt and Nick Jackson, Hangman Page, Chris Jericho, Pac, who showed up to the rally in full wrestling gear. Joey Janela is on the roster. Now, Joey Janela, he might be cleared in time for May 25th. When he went down with injury in late September, it was said he was out anywhere from 9 to 12 months. So it might be a little tight for Joey Janela to be back for Double or Nothing. But he is officially a part of All Elite Wrestling. And it also has been confirmed that he will still be able to promote his Game Changer Wrestling events. And Game Changer Wrestling events helped launch the careers of PCO and Marco Stunt. So Game Changer Wrestling has been a, good jumping off point for some talent in recent years. And then the members of SCU, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky will all be a part of the men's roster. The women's confirmed roster, we got Brandy Rhodes, Britt Baker, and Penelope Ford. Matt Jackson also announced a partnership with OWE. I'm going to put a video up, a bit of an introduction into that group. Hopefully that'll be up later this week, but they are definitely something that you'll want to check out between now and Double or Nothing. And of course, Chris Jericho signed his contract with All Elite Wrestling, and he was the big surprise last person to come out at the rally. Now, one of the bigger notes that didn't have to do with the roster was the announcement that Double or Nothing is going to be presented on May 25th in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Now, I wanted to mention that while the MGM Grand Garden Arena, it's famous for having hosted Mike Tyson fights, Floyd Mayweather fights, about 40 UFC cards. WCW used to run the MGM Grand Garden Arena quite a bit as well. Several episodes of Nitro were there. And they also ran their Halloween Havoc pay-per-view there for the kind of mid to late 90s. The largest attendance that WCW ever drew in the MGM Grand Garden Arena for their Halloween Havoc shows was just under 12,500, which was for Hollywood Hogan versus Roddy Piper in 1997. The last time WCW ran their Halloween Havoc pay-per-view from the MGM Grand Garden Arena was in 2000. They drew under 8,000 for a card that featured Scott Steiner versus Booker T. So that sort of gives you an idea of the scale of the MGM Grand Garden Arena. In recent years, it has been bumped out of the top Las Vegas sort of spot by T-Mobile Arena. However, T-Mobile Arena over Labor Day weekend, there's a chance that the Las Vegas Golden Knights might have needed the arena for that date. So the decision was made to move it to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. The capacity for that arena is listed at just under 18,000. So All Elite Wrestling will have a chance to break the wrestling attendance record in the arena if they can get over 12,500 for Double or Nothing. It's entirely possible that they're able to do that with their first show. Also, Billy Gunn was announced as the promotion's first producer. And in interviews that took place after the rally, the promotion is hoping to have medical insurance for the wrestlers. Cody would say definitively that anyone hurt in an AEW ring would be covered and that Joey Janela can still run spring break shows. Jericho can still do the cruise. The Pro Wrestling Sheet responded that according to someone that they had on site, Tony Khan also said during a press interview that healthcare for AEW is something they hope to iron out soon. The hope is for employees to gain full-time employment with their company. Also, Brandy Rhodes has announced that there will be equal pay between men and women for the promotion. Now, let's take a look at speculated divisions because we're getting closer. There were 3 people who sort of made it be known that they want to be in the running to be the first All Elite Wrestling champion at the rally. The first was Hangman Page, who specifically said as much. He was then interrupted by Pac. Chris Jericho then came out not long after somebody said something to do with All Elite Wrestling champion, and then he came out there. Christopher Daniels, I would have to imagine, is going to be in the running for the first All Elite Wrestling champion. He'll at least, I would imagine, be given a match or 2 for a chance to qualify to be in that position. Another thing that Cody mentioned during the rally, and he just threw it out there and never really went back to it, but he said wins and losses are going to matter like never before, or something along those lines. And what gets lost in the silliness of the Elite a little bit with all the Joey Ryan type stuff that happens is that Cody is in many ways a very old school wrestler. I mean, his dad is Dusty Rhodes, right? So, in terms of what kind of booking are we going to expect from Cody, I don't think we're going to get, there's going to be more old school elements in his booking than I think most people realize. The Young Bucks, too. The Young Bucks, their favorite teams growing up were, the Rock and Roll Express and teams like that. The Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. Well, maybe not the Midnight Express or anybody that was managed by Cornette, but so I think we will see more old school type booking, and Cody's comments about wins and losses really mattering. That to me suggests that there will be an old school type feel of this is a fictional sport, but then it'll still have all the crazy stuff that the Young Bucks do and stuff like that. But I think Cody's comments about wins or losses really mattering sort of give you an idea that this isn't going to be a completely silly wrestling promotion like maybe you see on Being the Elite. Going into the women's division, Brandy Rhodes mentioned that she's been talking with some of the top women wrestlers in Japan, and so there's a feeling as though many wrestlers from Stardom could find their way in All Elite Wrestling. And of course, you've got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Brandy Rhodes, and Penelope Ford. Now, with these speculated divisions, different from the article that we put out last week where we sort of looked at, okay, who are the people that they could bring in? We've removed the Impact Wrestling rosters from this speculated division as there was no mention of anyone from Impact at the rally. However, Ed Nordholm, made some recent comments indicating that Impact Wrestling is completely open to working with All Elite Wrestling. They're open to their talent going to All Elite Wrestling, and they are certainly open to All Elite Wrestling talent coming to their program. Don Callis spent much of 2018 trying to get members of Bullet Club from New Japan Pro Wrestling onto his program. Naturally, I think he's going to spend 2019 trying to get some All Elite Wrestling talent onto his program. So anyways, Ed Nordholm said everything is possible when talking about working with All Elite Wrestling. I think we'd be in the forefront of encouraging collaborations among the bigger and the smaller wrestling promotions. As an organization, we're sure that we would all be stronger if we were collaborating rather than fighting each other. It's a world in which we would welcome an opportunity to work with Ring of Honor. It's a world in which we would welcome an opportunity working with New Japan. It's a world in which we welcome working with AEW if they actually get up and running. We have interest in them. I don't think we have any bias against that happening. So based on that, I think it's entirely possible we could see people like Brian Cage and Tessa Blanchard, maybe Johnny Impact, maybe we see Johnny Elite. LAX, I think LAX and the Young Bucks could certainly have some great matches in All Elite Wrestling. Now, as it concerns Pentagon and Phoenix, Pentagon and Phoenix, considering the role, I mean, Pentagon took on Kenny Omega, Phoenix was in the main event. The role they played at All In, you would have to imagine that the Elite want Pentagon and Phoenix in All Elite Wrestling. Even though Pentagon and Phoenix, they're on Impact Wrestling, they're on Major League Wrestling, there's still some shadiness around their contracts with Lucha Underground. So, I don't know what is the status of Pentagon and Phoenix to All Elite Wrestling, but they may or may not be there at Double or Nothing. And there's a few different factors that are going to play into that. In terms of the tag team division, so you've got the Young Bucks, SCU, OWE, who we're going to take a look at further. So the Super Smash Bros, they are one of quite a few Canadian wrestlers who kind of got busted crossing the border to the United States, maybe with not all the proper work visas to go wrestle there. So there's a lot of Canadian wrestlers who are not allowed to go to the United States because, if they don't have, because they're banned from entering the United States without the proper work visa. So I know the Young Bucks were trying to get Ring of Honor to help them out with that. By the way, there's so many others at this time. Speedball Mike Bailey, same thing. So could All Elite Wrestling help the Super Smash Bros. Deal with their visa issues and get into All Elite Wrestling? I mean, it's certainly something the Young Bucks tried to do in Ring of Honor. So if they tried to do it in Ring of Honor, I don't see why they wouldn't try to do it in their own promotion. And then just looking at the men's mid-card, Joey Ryan, you would have to expect, will be wrestling in All Elite Wrestling at some point. Joey Janela, MJF. I put Matt Cross in there as a possible mid-carder for All Elite Wrestling. He wrestled MJF in the opening match of the main pay-per-view at All In. Marco Stunt broke his leg recently, so much like Joey Janela, he's going to be on the injured list until later in 2019. And then Billy Gunn's son, Austin Gunn, looks exactly like him and took part in the over-budget Battle Royal on the All In pre-show. And then, of course, looking at these divisions, I think you can add in guys from other promotions in Japan who would probably be brought in, and think possibly Impact Wrestling stars as well. I would be looking at LAX, possibly going to the tag team division. Brian Cage, I would imagine, would be on their radar as well. And Tessa Blanchard, who won the women's match at All In, I would have to imagine that they want Tessa Blanchard as part of this promotion. But Tessa Blanchard, not only with Impact Wrestling, but also with that Women of Wrestling group, which is going to be on Access TV soon. So a lot going on in the world of All Elite Wrestling, way more than we even covered here. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any news or reports from Spoiler Free Wrestling. Thanks again, everyone.